This video is brought to you by Azam Sharp School. Azam Sharp School hosts one of the largest catalog for iOS development videos, and it is trusted by 150 plus companies, including Apple, Comcast, JP Morgan Chase. A lot of my students work with these amazing companies, and check out these amazing reviews from some of my students. I mean, in reality, there are like 16,000 plus reviews, but you can definitely check out a few of them over here. So on Azam Sharp School, you can find a list of a lot of different courses. You can get those courses by buying individual course, and you can see the list over here. I mean, this is just a crazy list because it just has so many different courses available. Full stack iOS development using Swift and Vapor, MV design pattern, Swift data bootcamp, testament development, Create ML, Reality Kit, and a lot more. So definitely check out these courses. You can buy them individually, or you can simply go ahead and sign up for the membership. That is what most people do. 22 comprehensive courses, over 130 hours of content, and I keep adding more videos, more tutorial, and more courses. Another thing to keep in mind are the workshops. Now, these are live workshops hosted over Zoom, and these are amazing workshops because these are very hands-on workshops. It's not like I'm going to show you some slides. We're going to dive into the code. We're going to check out the code. We're going to run it, and you will get a GitHub repository with all the code, and I will be every step of the way helping you out figure out all the problems. So our next workshop is on Introduction to Server-Side Swift using Vapor. And you can see the pricing, very accessible, only $50 for a workshop. Then we have a Swift Data Fundamentals workshop, and we also have testing workshops. So definitely check out these resources on azamsharp.school. Now let's go back to the video. So now what we have over here is we are accessing all of these events, which are generated from reminder cell view. You can see we have created reminder cell events, and we are capturing it right inside our reminder list view. We're going to be looking at the on-checked change event. So this event is fired whenever you select check or uncheck the radio button or the checkbox. So what do we want to do in this case? Well, what we want to do in this case is we want to update the database, and we want to make sure that the database is updated, and the task, if it was checked, then it was marked as completed. For this, I'm going to go ahead and create a very simple function over here. Private function reminder. And you don't really have to create this function. I'm just creating it to make it a little bit cleaner, but we can talk about it later if you want to. But you'll see what code that we have over here. You can write all the code that I'm writing in reminder check change right over here, and it will still work. So that should be also fine. Okay. So we have the reminder check change. That function is going to get fired right here. Reminder check change. We're just going to go ahead and fire this. Okay. So inside this function, what we are going to do is we are going to create an edit config. We are going to use the reminder edit config, passing in the reminder. The edit config, and the main purpose of edit config is to hold all the values that you want to update. So right now you can see that we are creating a new instance of edit config, which is basically saying that all the values in the reminder, well, that will be part of the edit config. Next, we can go ahead and change one of the properties of edit config, that the ones that we want to change. So we can go ahead and say over here, edit config completed. And since we have probably, checked it, we can go ahead and say reminder.is completed, and we can mark the opposite of that. Okay. All right. So that part is done. The final part is to use the edit config to update our reminder. So we'll go to reminder service, because all the code for updating, we are doing it inside the reminder service. Let's go and create a new function, private Well, it will be static function private update reminder. Okay, we're going to be passing in the reminder, and obviously we need to pass in the edit config. This will have all the updates, meaning all the values that we actually want to update. But since we are only updating the is completed, so it will only have one property that will be changed, and it's going to return us a Boolean. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create reminder update. And we don't really want this to be private, so we can remove that part. And now we can go ahead and change the values, meaning now we can go ahead and set all the different values that you want to update. So I will say reminder to update. That will be the actual reminder that will be updated. Is completed equals to whatever the value is in the edit config. Go ahead and use that. And the same thing we're going to do with the title and the notes, so that we can use this particular update reminder function when you actually update the notes and the date and the title. You can update all of those things. So we're just going to use the same exact function to update all of those things. The next is an interesting one, because what we want to do is we do want to assign a date to it, but only if there's a date present. So I can go ahead and say reminder to update dot reminder date, which is actually nullable, meaning it's optional. And depending on the edit config, meaning if the edit config has a date, meaning you have actually entered the date, then go ahead and use that date, or else just put null. I mean, we don't have the date, we don't have the date. It will still be null. We're not going to assign today's date to it. And the same thing we're going to do with the time. Finally, we can go ahead and save it. And finally, we will also go ahead and say return true. If there's any problem, then it's going to break over here and return true will never be executed. Okay, great. Let's go back to our reminder list view. And this is where we will call that function. So I'm just going to go ahead and say reminder service dot update reminder. We're going to pass in the reminder, and we are going to pass in the edit config. Now this function can throw an error, so we're just going to go ahead and try. This is also going to be returning us a Boolean. In this case, we don't really care that much about the Boolean, so we can simply ignore it. So let's go ahead and print out the error. And if there's a Boolean, well, we'll just kind of like ignore it. We're really not doing anything with the Boolean. Great. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So we'll go to the home view, see if it can actually display some items. It might have one list, and you can see we only have one item over here right now, but let's go ahead and add another item. So I'm just going to go ahead and say reminder 2, and let's go ahead and add one more. Okay, so let's check reminder 2, or reminder 2 in the middle one. And you can see reminder 2 is gone. Let's check reminder 3. Reminder 3 is gone. Reminder 1. Now it's gone doesn't mean that it's deleted. It's gone simply means that the status of the reminder 2 and all of those reminder is completed property is now set to be true. And the reason that you don't see anything over here is because if you go back to your reminder service, you can see that when we are getting the reminders using the list, we are explicitly saying that we only want the reminders where they are false. But since they're not false, we just mark them to be true. So we're not going to be fetching those. So it has been updated. And if you look at that, you can see there are no reminders. So it looks like that part is done. Now, another thing that I want to add over here is that if I go again and add one of those reminders, let's say reminder 10, one thing you have noticed is that if I check mark this, or if I mark this as completed, it's immediately gone, right? And in some situations, it's perfectly fine. But what we want to do, and what is the native behavior of the reminders app, and you can actually check it on your iPhone, go ahead and add a reminder and check mark it on your phone, and you'll see that it doesn't really go away instantly. It takes maybe a second or so to go away. And the reason that it takes a second to go away is that it gives you the time to change your mind. So that is what we want to do also. What I want to do is when I check mark this reminder 11 as mark as completed, I don't really want it to be instantly going away. I want it to be delayed for like just a second or so that I can maybe change my mind. Okay. And this is actually the native behavior. So if you open up your reminders app on your iOS device or even on your Mac, you will see this particular behavior. So let's go ahead and add and see that how we can add that delay that will allow us to change our mind and uncheck our checkbox.